right, so we're back. So you have done the flashcards for 10 minutes, and now you're ready to talk about changing a fraction to a decimal using division. All right, so we're going to practice this for a couple days. So if it is confusing, it's okay. We will get it. All right, so changing a fraction to a decimal. Okay. So you want to do this when you have a fraction that is not in the smallest form. Like if you have 1/8, you know that is 125 thousandths, or you will. But if you have 5/8 and you want to change that fraction to a decimal, it might be if you just absolutely cannot remember what 1/8 is and add that up, you can divide this, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to push. This is how I try to get kids to remember to do this. You push the numerator, which is the top number, right? You push that down, and when you push it down, it falls. And when it falls with the fraction bar as well. So the 5 goes into the house, into the little fraction bar, all right? It gets trapped. You're going to add a decimal and 2 zeros, okay? It's just one of those things where you have to memorize this is how you do it. And if you do division the box way, you can still do this. You just have to make it into a box, okay? The rule with dividing decimals is to bring the decimal up and then just start dividing. 8 does not go into 5, so you put a 0. It can go into 50, though. It can go into it 6 times. 6 times 8 is 48. You subtract that. 50 minus 48 is 2. Bring down your 0. 8 goes into 20 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. When you subtract that, you're going to get 4. Now, I know I said you only have to add 2 zeros, but we don't like to have remainders when you have a decimal. So slap one more 0 on there just to be for sure to see if we can get rid of that remainder, because we don't want to have remainders with decimals. When you add one more 0, you're going to turn that into a 40. 8 goes into 40 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. Subtract that, and that is 0. So 5/8 is equal to 625 thousandths. And we did that by dividing, okay? So let's write down the rules to this, just so we have them. Number 1, you're going to push the numerator which is the top number. This pen's loud today. All right. It gets trapped in the box. All right. And then you're going to add a decimal and 2 to 3. We'll put 2 because you're going to 2 at first. And then if you need to add an additional 0, you can. And then I'll put don't have remainders. Okay, let's try another one. We'll need another piece of paper. So again, if I'm writing these down, you definitely need to be writing them down and then put them in your math section of your binder. And I just dropped all my paper in my floor. Ugh. If we have 2/3, okay, if I have 2/3 and I want to know what the decimal equivalent of 2/3 is, and I cannot remember how to get that from my memorization, I'm going to push my 2 over. And that is going to trap it inside the box. I'm going to add a decimal and 2 zeros. Bring that decimal up. 3 will not go into 2, so I can put a 0 there. 3 will go into 20 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18. When I subtract that, that's going to be 2. Bring down my other 0. 3 goes into 20 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18. That's going to be 2. If I would put another 0 there and bring that down, I'm going to have 20 again, and so it's going to be a repeating number, okay? And so we do not have to continue that because you're never going to get rid of that, the amount of times that you'll divide, okay? So you can feel sure, you can feel comfortable in saying that 2/3 is equal to 66 hundredths or 6/10, but I would say 66 hundredths, okay? All right, let's do just a couple more. Practice with me. Please make sure you're writing these down. All right, 5 6 is equal to what? We push that 5 over. We add a decimal and 2 zeros. Bring up your decimal and we can start to divide. 6 will not go into 5, so I put a 0. 6 will go into 50 8 times. 8 times 6 is 48, and that is 2. Bring down my 0. 6 will go into 20 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18, and that is going to be 2. Now, I don't want to leave a remainder, so let's try to add one more 0 here and see what happens. All right, well, I get 20 again. So 6 will go into 20 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18, and that is 2. So I'm not going to ask you to add any more zeros there. It's obvious that that is going to be repeating. So 5 6 is equal to 833 thousandths, okay? So like I said in the first video today, that decimals and fractions are similar because they are both parts of numbers. 5 6 says exactly the same thing as 833 thousandths, the decimal form. They are parts of numbers. They are the same thing. We just write them differently. All right, let's do a couple more. So if I have 4/5, I'm going to push that 4 over. It's going to get trapped. I add a decimal and 2 zeros. Bring up my decimal. 5 will not go into 4, but 5 will go into 40 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40, and that is 0. Bring that down. 5 goes into 0 0 times. 0 times 0 is 0, and we are finished. So 4/5 is equal to 8/10, and I can feel confident in saying that because I don't have to add any more zeros. All right, let's do one more. 7/9. So you can do this with, any fraction as long as it's a proper fraction. Proper means the smaller numbers on top. You can do it with improper fractions too, but it's not going to be a decimal. There's going to be a whole number there involved. All right, so the 9 goes on the outside, 7 goes in the box. Add a decimal and 2 zeros. Bring my decimal up. 9 goes into 7 0 times. 9 goes into 70 7 times. 7 times 9 is 63. And now we need to subtract that. And we can go on and borrow. 10 minus 3 is 7. Bring down your 0. 9 goes into 70 7 times. So it looks like this one is going to be repeating. So you do not need to add another 0. You can feel sure to say that that is going to repeat. And 7/9 is equal to 7/10. Or you could say 77 hundredths, either way. All right. You're going to have an assignment to practice this. Tomorrow, you will have a decimal, fraction to decimal quiz with just the chart that we made in the previous video. All right, let me know if you have any questions. I know this can be confusing, but we will practice all week together, okay? Bye!